Hello, fans of all things creepy. Dive into 3 chilling horror stories: The Shadow Beneath the Stairs, The Singing from the Shed, and The Shadow on the Night Wall. Subscribe now, hit that like button, and comment to share your fears or spooky stories. The Shadow Beneath the Stairs. When I was 7 years old, my family moved to a new house in the suburbs. It was an old 2-story house with faded white walls and creaky wooden floors that groaned with every step. My parents said it was a bargain for the area, and for a family of just them and me, it was plenty spacious. The neighborhood was quiet, lined with tall trees that shaded the streets, and I loved riding my bike around in the afternoons. But from the very first days, I felt something off about the house. It wasn't something you could pinpoint right away, just a cold, lingering feeling, like someone was watching you from a hidden corner. My bedroom was on the 2nd floor, right next to the staircase leading down to the living room. The staircase was made of old wood, with warped steps and a handrail worn smooth by time. Every night, my mom left a small lamp on in the hallway so I wouldn't be scared of the dark. I wasn't a timid kid, but I always felt uneasy passing the staircase at night. Once, I heard a faint creak, like someone stepping on the stairs, but when I looked down from the top, there was no one there. My mom said it was just the wood settling because of the cold weather, and I tried to believe her. It all started one autumn night when a light rain pattered outside, and the wind whistled through the window cracks, making sounds like soft moans. I woke up around midnight, my throat dry and begging for water. The clock on my bedside table read 1 a.m. I lay still for a moment, listening to see if my parents were awake, but the house was silent except for the steady drip of rain. I quietly got out of bed, clutching my small pillow for comfort, and opened my door. The light from the hallway lamp cast flickering shadows on the walls. I stepped toward the staircase, planning to go downstairs to the kitchen for a glass of water. But as I placed my foot on the first step, I heard something strange. It wasn't the usual creak of the wood but slow, deliberate footsteps, like someone was walking up from the ground floor. My heart pounded. "Mom? Dad?" I called softly, but there was no answer. The footsteps stopped, and a chill crept up my legs, even though I was wearing long pants. I gripped the handrail tightly, peering down the stairs. The hallway lamp's light only reached the first few steps, leaving the bottom shrouded in darkness. I told myself I was imagining things, but then I saw it. A pitch-black shadow standing motionless at the foot of the stairs. It didn't move, didn't make a sound, just stood there, as if staring up at me. I couldn't make out its shape clearly, but it was tall, thin, and seemed to have no face, just a solid mass of darkness. I stumbled back, tripping on the step and nearly falling. I ran to my room, slammed the door, and dove under the covers, clutching my pillow so tightly my hands shook. The next morning, I told my mom what happened. She laughed and said it was probably the shadow of a tree outside the window. "You're imagining things," she said, ruffling my hair. But I knew it wasn't a tree. Trees don't stand still like that, and trees don't make you feel like someone's staring right through you. I didn't say more, afraid my dad would think I was a coward. But from that day on, I dreaded the staircase more than ever. Over the next few nights, I tried to avoid leaving my room after dark. I kept a water bottle under my pillow so I wouldn't have to go downstairs. But the footsteps didn't stop. Not every night, but every few days, I'd hear them slow, steady, like someone climbing but never reaching the top. One night, I gathered my courage, cracked my door open, and looked down. The shadow was there again, at the bottom of the stairs, but this time it seemed a little closer. I swear I saw it tilt its head, as if trying to get a better look at me. I started noticing other things in the house. Sometimes my toys would move. A stuffed bear I kept on my bookshelf ended up on the floor by my door. Another time, I found a long scratch on the handrail, like someone had clawed into the wood. I showed it to my mom, but she said I must have done it while carrying toys up and down. I knew I hadn't. I stopped touching the handrail altogether. Things got worse on a freezing winter night. I woke up to a whispering sound. It wasn't clear, like someone talking far away, but I could make out my name. Anna, Anna. The voice was dry, like leaves scraping together. I bolted upright, my heart racing. The whispering came from the direction of the staircase. I didn't dare open my door, but I heard the footsteps again. This time not climbing, but stopping right outside my room. I clutched my blanket, trying not to cry. Then came a soft scratching sound on my door, like fingernails dragging slowly across the wood. I screamed for my mom. She rushed in, flicked on the light, and hugged me. She said it was just a nightmare, but I knew it wasn't. The door was still closed, but when she opened it to check the hallway, I saw a new scratch on the door, long and deep, like someone had tried to claw through. Mom didn't say anything about the scratch, but I noticed her staring at it longer than usual. From that night on, she kept the hallway lamp on all night. I started sleeping with the blanket over my head, hoping I wouldn't hear anything anymore. But the shadow didn't stop. Some nights, I'd hear the footsteps pause just outside my door, followed by a long, low sigh, like someone standing there, waiting. I told my dad, and he checked the whole house but found nothing. He said it was probably mice, but mice don't call your name, and mice don't stand at the bottom of the stairs like a person. The worst night came when my parents were out, leaving me with a neighbor. I lay in bed, trying not to think about the staircase. But then I heard it, the footsteps, faster this time, like the shadow was running up. I heard my door rattle, as if someone was trying to open it. I screamed, and the neighbor rushed in. When she turned on the light, everything went quiet. But I saw the door was slightly ajar, even though I was sure I'd locked it. We moved out a few months later. Mom said it was because Dad got a job transfer, but I think she felt something in that house too. Years later, when I asked her about it, she admitted she'd seen a shadow at the bottom of the stairs once, when she woke up in the middle of the night. She hadn't told me because she didn't want to scare me. I'm grown now, but every time I hear a creak in the house or see shadows flicker, I feel that same chill down my spine. I don't know what that shadow was, but I know it wasn't my imagination. It was there, beneath the stairs, and it knew my name. The singing from the shed. When I was 10 years old, my family moved to a small house on the edge of town. It was nothing special. A single-story home with gray brick walls and a backyard overgrown with weeds. But what caught my attention from the start was the old shed at the far end of the yard, hidden behind dense bushes. It was a rotting wooden structure with a cracked tile roof and a door hanging loosely on rusted hinges. My dad said it was just a storage space for the previous owner's tools and warned me to stay away because the floor could collapse at any moment. But there was something about that shed that I couldn't ignore. It felt like it was whispering, calling to me, even though I heard no sound during the day. The first few weeks in the new house were normal enough. I went to school, rode my bike around the neighborhood, and played with some kids nearby. But at night, the house felt different. I'd wake up to small noises, crickets chirping in the yard, wind whistling through window cracks, or branches scraping against the roof. My mom said I was just adjusting to the new place, and I tried to believe her. But then, on a moonless night, I heard something I couldn't explain. I woke up around 2 a.m., unsure why. My room was pitch black, with only a faint glow from a street lamp seeping through the curtains. I lay still, listening, and then I heard it. A soft, lilting song, like a lullaby, coming from the direction of the backyard. The voice was thin and trembling, as if sung through a thick fog. My heart pounded. The singing had no clear words, just a series of drawn-out, high-pitched notes that made my skin crawl. I sat up, pulling the blanket to my chin, telling myself it was just the wind. But the wind doesn't sing, and the wind definitely doesn't call my name. I parted the curtains slightly, peering into the yard. The shed stood there, a shadowy bulk swallowing the faint light. The singing seemed to come from it, drifting through the bushes, slipping through the cracks of my window. I yanked the curtains shut, dove under the covers, and tried to sleep. But the singing didn't stop. It ebbed and flowed, sometimes closer, sometimes farther, as if the singer was circling the shed. The next morning, I told my mom. She laughed and said I must have been dreaming. "You've been watching too many scary movies," she teased. But I knew it wasn't a dream. I'd heard it clearly, and the cold knot in my chest wasn't something I'd imagined. I decided not to say more, afraid my dad would scold me for being a coward. But I started watching the shed more closely. By day, it was just a pile of old wood, but at night, it seemed to come alive. The singing returned on other nights, not consistently, but every few days. Some nights, it was a faint hum, like someone singing far away. Other nights, it was clearer, closer, as if the singer was standing just outside the shed. One night, I mustered the courage to turn on my bedside lamp and open the window. The singing stopped instantly, as if cut off. I stared at the shed, and for a fleeting moment, I swore I saw a small white shape move inside, through the gap in the door. I slammed the window shut, my heart racing so fast I thought it would burst. I started noticing other strange things. One morning, I found a ring of weeds arranged neatly in front of the shed's door, as if someone had placed them there on purpose. I asked my dad, but he said the wind must have blown the weeds together. I didn't buy it. The wind doesn't arrange weeds in a perfect circle. Another time, while playing in the yard, I heard a soft tapping from inside the shed, like someone knocking on the wooden walls. I ran back to the house, too scared to look back. Things got scarier on a stormy night. Thunder cracked across the sky, and the rain drowned out most sounds. I woke up with an eerie feeling, like someone was watching me. I lay still, afraid to move. Then I heard the singing again, no longer faint. It was louder, closer, and I could make out my name woven into the melody. Tongue, tongue. The voice was icy, as if coming from a mouth with no breath. I flicked on the lamp, but the light seemed weaker than usual, like the darkness was swallowing it. I looked out the window, and this time I saw it clearly. A figure stood in front of the shed, blurred by the rain. It wore a tattered white dress, its long hair draped over its face. It didn't move, just stood there, head slightly tilted, as if staring right at me. I screamed for my mom, but the thunder drowned out my voice. When I looked again, the figure was gone, but the shed's door was swinging back and forth, even though there was no wind strong enough to move it. My mom rushed in, hugged me, and said it was just a nightmare. But when I told her about the figure, she checked the yard through the window. She didn't say anything, but I saw her hands tremble as she closed the curtains. From that night on, she started locking the back door more carefully and wouldn't let me go into the yard alone. The climax came on a still, quiet night with no rain or wind. I woke up to a bone-chilling cold, as if someone was breathing on the back of my neck. I flicked on the lamp, but it wouldn't turn on. Then I heard the singing, not from the shed this time, but from the hallway outside my room. The melody was slow, but the words were clearer, repeating my name over and over. I gripped the blanket, too terrified to move. Then came a scratching sound on my door, like sharp nails dragging across the wood. I screamed, and the singing stopped. But when I looked at the gap under the door, I saw a white shape standing just outside, silent and unmoving. I don't know how long I screamed, but when my parents rushed in and turned on the hallway light, there was nothing but an empty corridor. But on my door were fresh scratches, deep and jagged, like someone had tried to tear through it. My dad checked the house but found nothing. He said it might be a stray cat, but we didn't have a cat and cats don't sing. We moved out soon after. My parents said it was for work, but I know they were scared too. Years later, I asked my mom about the shed. She admitted she'd heard singing once, when she got up for water. She thought it was a radio, but we didn't have one in the house. Now, whenever I hear a lullaby at night, I feel that same icy chill from the shed. I don't know who that figure was, but I know it wanted me to come closer. And sometimes, in my nightmares, I still see the shed's door creaking open, with a pale hand beckoning me inside. The shadow on the night wall. When I was 9 years old, my family lived in an old house in a quiet neighborhood, where the streets were lined with tall trees. The house was 2 stories, with peeling white walls and rattling window frames that creaked whenever the wind blew. My bedroom was on the 2nd floor, overlooking the main road, where the glow of streetlights cast shadows of swaying trees on my walls every night. I used to love watching them before bed, imagining them as playful monsters in stories I made up. But during the winter of that year, the shadows on my wall stopped being a game. They became something that chilled me to the bone. It all started on a cold night when snow fell lightly outside my window. I woke up around midnight with an eerie feeling, like someone was standing in my room. The clock by my bed read 2 a.m. I lay still, listening, but all I could hear was the wind whistling through the window cracks. The streetlight's glow filtered through my curtains, painting the familiar tree shadows on my wall. But then I noticed something else. A shadow that didn't belong. It was tall, thin, with unnaturally long arms, and it didn't sway with the trees. It stood motionless in the corner near my wardrobe, as if watching me. I flicked on my bedside lamp, my heart pounding. The light flooded the room, and the shadow vanished. I checked the window, but the curtains were drawn, and there was nothing outside but falling snow. I told myself it was just my imagination, maybe a shadow from something in the room. But when I turned off the lamp and lay back down, the shadow reappeared, clearer this time. It wasn't just standing still anymore. It slowly moved, as if gliding along the wall, inching closer to my bed. I pulled the blanket over my head, trying not to scream, and stayed frozen until I fell asleep from exhaustion. The next morning, I told my mom. She said it was probably a dream, or maybe the light from a passing car created a strange shadow. "You need to sleep earlier," she said, smiling. But I knew it wasn't a dream. That shadow felt alive, like it was watching me. I didn't tell my dad, afraid he'd call me silly. But from that night on, I dreaded the darkness. The shadow came back on other nights. Not every night, but every few days it would appear on the wall, always around midnight. Sometimes, it just stood still in the corner, its long arms dangling. Other times, I swore I saw it reach out, as if trying to touch something on my bed. I tried adjusting the curtains, even closing the window completely, but the shadow still appeared, unaffected by the light outside. It was as if it came from somewhere else, not from the streetlights or the trees. I started noticing other strange things in my room. One night, I woke up to find the ceramic doll on my desk turned around, facing the wall instead of the room like usual. I asked my younger brother, but he said he hadn't touched it. Another time, I found a long scratch on the window frame, like someone had clawed at it with sharp nails. My mom said it could be from a branch, but no trees were close enough to reach the 2nd floor window. Things got scarier on a pitch-black night with no snow. I woke up to a strange sound, a dry, rasping whisper, like leaves scraping together. It came from the corner where the shadow usually appeared. "Min, Min." The whisper called my name, slow and cold. I flicked on the lamp, but this time it wouldn't turn on, even though I knew the bulb worked during the day. In the darkness, I saw the shadow on the wall move faster, gliding across the walls as if searching for me. I screamed for my parents, but my voice felt trapped in my throat. My mom rushed in, turned on the ceiling light, and the shadow vanished. She hugged me, saying it was just a nightmare. But when she checked the window, I saw her pause, staring at a new scratch on the wooden frame, deep and jagged. She didn't say anything, but from that night on, she kept the hallway light on all night. I started sleeping with the blanket over my head, hoping the shadow wouldn't see me. But the shadow didn't stop. Some nights, I heard soft tapping on the wall, like it was trying to get my attention. One night, I gathered the courage to open my eyes and look at it. The shadow wasn't just a vague shape anymore. It looked like a person, but its head was tilted at an unnatural angle, and its arms were so long they nearly touched the floor. I swore I saw it turn its head, as if staring right at me. I screamed, and when my parents rushed in, the shadow was gone. But I noticed the curtains swaying slightly, even though there was no wind. The worst night came during a thunderstorm. Lightning shook the house, and the streetlight flickered wildly. I woke up to an icy chill, like someone was standing right beside my bed. I heard the whisper again, clearer and closer this time. "Min, come here." The voice didn't sound human, like it was formed from the darkness itself. I looked at the wall, and the shadow was there, bigger, sharper, its long arms stretching toward me. Then I heard a loud scratching sound, not from the wall, but from under my bed. I screamed, leapt out of bed, and ran into the hallway, crashing into my dad as he came running. When my parents turned on the light, there was nothing under the bed, but I saw fresh scratches on the wooden floor, long and deep, like someone had tried to crawl out from underneath. My dad checked the house but found nothing. He said it might be mice, but mice don't whisper my name, and mice don't leave scratches like human nails. We moved out a few months later. My mom said it was because Dad got a promotion, but I noticed she always checked the windows before bed. Years later, I asked her about the old house. She admitted she'd seen a shadow on the living room wall one night, but thought it was just car lights. She didn't tell me because she didn't want to scare me. Now, whenever I see shadows flicker on a wall or hear a whisper in the night, I feel that same icy chill from that room. I don't know what that shadow was, but I know it didn't belong to this world. And sometimes, in my nightmares, I still see it standing there, on the night wall, reaching for me.